Hey you, yes you, we're on the road to 1,000 subscribers and the odds of you being subscribed to the channel are very small. So if you're new, it would mean the world if you'd subscribe and join the Woods crew to help me go full time. Hope you all enjoyed today's video. Woods out. I feel like lately everybody is talking about the Nets or the two teams of LA or the 76ers, but what no one is talking about is teams like the Suns and why they have a great chance to make a deep playoff push and even make it to the championship this year like the Miami Heat did last year. Today we will be discussing what we have seen out of the Suns so far and why it makes them so dangerous for every team in the NBA, as well as what they will have to do to make a deep playoff push that Devin Booker and the rest of the team have been trying to do for a while now. But as always, it would be amazing if you hit that like button on the video and subscribe if you end up enjoying the content, because it truly does help the channel in a big way. But with all that being said, let's get right into the Suns and what we've seen from them as we are nearing the halfway point of this NBA season. Now initially, I feel like there was a lot of hype and buzz surrounding the Suns going into the season, and there's no question that they earned it. I mean, they had an unbelievable bubble run, going undefeated and still not making the playoffs, as well as making some money moves that many thought would put them over the top to finally be a solid playoffs team or more. I already mentioned it in my previous Suns video, which I'll link at the end of this one, but I really like the Chris Paul acquisition and I think it was exactly what this Suns team needed. Chris Paul showed last season that he has what it takes to will a team like the Thunder or now the Suns the playoffs, which is very good for the Suns to say the least. At the time I'm making this video, the Suns are currently ranked 4th best in the Western Conference, only behind the two teams of LA and the hot Jazz squad, which has led many to believe that the Suns are legit this year and could really make some noise when the playoffs begin. And before you go down to the comments, I know, the Suns are only 2 games away from being the 8th seed in the West because it is that close between all the teams. But even if it is just 2 games, it's still 2 more than all the other teams below them, so it doesn't really matter. I believe that the Suns are definitely a solid playoff team, but let's get right into what they need to change and continue to do to be legitimate contenders this year in the stacked Western Conference. One of the things that makes many people, including myself, believe that the Suns will make it far this year is the fact that they have one of the deepest, if not the deepest rosters in the league. They may not have big names like you expect, but after getting Chris Paul and Jay Crowder without losing literally anything except Kelly Oubre, which is now looking good for them at this point, it really does make this team a lot deeper. Now I know that star power is the key to winning nowadays. I mean, when's the last time we've seen a team without multiple bona fide stars win in recent years? The 2011 Mavericks? I don't think that will happen anytime soon, but the fact is, we just saw a very deep Miami Heat team make it all the way to the finals last year. And even though you might say they have multiple stars in Bam and Jimmy, the Suns are capable of having multiple stars as well. And even though this is a bit of a side tangent, let's not forget that the Denver Nuggets made it all the way to the Western Conference Finals last year without multiple stars just because someone like Jamal Murray was able to step up in a big way. For the Suns though, they do have a guaranteed star in Booker, and there's no question about that. And honestly, at this point, I think that Chris Paul can step up enough to be a star as well. The question is, will Deandre Ayton be able to step up and have a star playoffs run for the Suns? And I think the answer to this is yes. And with the depth that the Suns have, this makes them look very dangerous in the West. I think that Devin Booker said it best himself when he said, "We're deep. I feel like we're 15 deep. Everyone can play and everyone's ready to go." I think that what Booker just mentioned will be a lot more important than people think when the playoffs come around. Because if you have a deep roster like the Heat last year, you have guys that can step up and fill the role of people who get injured, like when Goran Dragic went down last year with his foot injury. If the Suns really do have 15 guys that are capable of playing a solid role for the team any given night, well, all I had to say is this should make a lot of the other Western Conference teams nervous. But with that being said, before we get into some of the things that the Suns need to improve on to be able to make a deep playoff push, there is one more thing they have been doing extremely well. And honestly, I just want to give them some credit for what they've been doing. Because trust me, this isn't a negative Suns video at all. In fact, I really love the team they have at the moment, and I think they could do some big things if they make some changes that I will discuss in a little bit. But what the Suns do have dialed in right now is their offense. Now, I know that the Suns aren't necessarily scoring 140 a night, being that they are only averaging 110 points a game. But at this point, it is clear that a lot of the scoring burden is off Devin Booker now that they have extreme depth and players like Sarge, Crowder, and many more who can contribute a solid 10 to 12 points a game. What I'm trying to say is that this offense ran through D-Book and CP3 is great. They have shooters in Booker, Cam Johnson, and more, as well as some people who can get points in the paint. The Suns offense is one of the most balanced in the game, and I think this makes them a team that is very hard to drop game plans against because they can really score from anywhere from beyond the arc to down low in the paint. With that being said, the depth and balanced offense that the Suns have is definitely the things that have stood out to me the most after watching as many games as I've been able to. But with the good things, there have also been some negatives that I've noticed as well. And if the Suns really want to make a solid solid playoffs run, they will need to do a couple of things and fix a few things as well to make it happen. But with that being said, let's get right into what the Suns need to do, starting off with having a near perfect regular season record. Now I know that this might seem kind of obvious to people that the Suns will have to have a good record to make it in the playoffs, let alone make a playoffs run, but what you guys may not realize is the fact that if the Suns could secure a top seed in the West, their chances of making it to the Western Conference Finals and beyond are much higher. The fact is, the Suns may not be able to beat a team like the Lakers, Clippers, or even Jazz in a 7-game playoff series, so if the Suns want to avoid playing these teams early, they will have to get at least a top 5 seed. If the Phoenix Suns are able to do this and dodge the top teams in the West in the first round, their chances of making it deeper in the playoffs are much higher in my eyes. Even though it may be tough for the Suns to finish a top 5 seed, I think that they are definitely capable. We see teams every year come into the regular season with a chip on their shoulder and give it their all in the regular season, and that is exactly what the Suns are doing and have to continue to do right now. Devin Booker and Deandre Ayton have to show that they are both all-stars that can lead to wins, and for CP3, well, he just has to show that he still got it, which he definitely has been so far this year. Normally, I'd say that teams shouldn't give it their all in the regular season and save themselves for the playoffs, but in the case of the Suns, I think the opposite is true solely based on the fact that it is very important for them to get a good seed this year. But honestly, the seed for the Suns is the least important thing they need to fix in my eyes. What the Suns need to do is work on their flaws as a team so they can stand a chance against the dominant super teams in the West and the East if they somehow make it to the finals. And trust me, there is plenty they need to work on, but we're just going to discuss the most glaring issues with this team that I've noticed so far. Like I said, I've been able to watch a good amount of Suns games, so I think I have a valid opinion on what this team needs to fix, but I know there are definitely some diehard Sun fans watching, so if you think there's a bigger issue than the ones I'm about to mention, let me know down below. I already said that the Suns offense is great. The issue for them is on the defensive side of the ball. Although the Suns have been very solid, only allowing 107 points per game, which is 4th best in the league, there is one major adjustment I think they need to work on if they want to stand a chance in the playoffs, and that thing is their perimeter defense. It is clear that the Suns have actually had a pretty solid interior defense backed by Ayton, but there have been many times in which they've let teams back into games with a straight up lack of effort defending the perimeter shot, which is not something you want to hear from a team that is trying to make a big leap this year. We literally just saw this against the Brooklyn Nets without Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant when they blew a 24-point lead and they mostly came back by shooting threes. Lucky for Suns fans, I believe fixing this issue is simple. All the Suns have to do is give it their all on the defensive end. I've seen far too many plays where the ball gets kicked to a wide open shooter and no one on the Suns closes them out, which just gives the person with the ball a wide open warm-up jumper. As crazy as it sounds, just closing out and trying to contest shots instead of leaving someone wide open will 100% lead to less makes for them. All the Suns need to do is put in a little extra effort at all times and get a hand in the air whenever someone is shooting, and this should help them out a lot. And there is one more thing I believe the Suns need to adjust to be the team that they want to be this year, and it actually comes down to one player, who's honestly the wild card for the Suns in my eyes. I'm talking about Deandre Ayton. Why I say that is if Deandre Ayton is able to take a leap this year, or at least in the playoffs, it will take this Suns squad to the next level, and there's no doubt about that in my mind. But what Ayton needs to improve on is also on the defensive side of the ball. I've seen far too many times when Deandre Ayton commits dumb fouls just because of lack of hustle and effort on his end, and this has led to him getting in foul trouble early in many of the Suns games, which has led to them without a big and them losing. Ayton is undeniably one of the defensive backbones of this team, even if he is committing fouls like this, which is why the coaches need to seriously get him to stop making fouls like this for the greater good of the team. If Deandre Ayton is able to play a whole game without worrying about fouls, he is so much more likely to have a higher impact for the Suns and allow them to win at the highest level, which is why I think he is truly the wild card that determines if the Suns will be good this year or great. With all that being said, if the Suns are able to continue doing what I mentioned and fix the small things on the defensive end, there is no doubt in my mind that this team will not only make the playoffs, but make it to the Western Conference Finals and maybe, just maybe, the NBA Finals if the Lakers have issues. I really hope that this squad can continue to string together wins, because it's about time that we not only see Devin Booker playing high-level playoff basketball, but also Chris Paul. With that being said, that is all for today's video. Thank you all so much for tuning in. If you did enjoy, it would be absolutely clutch if you hit that like button below and subscribe if you're new and join the Woods crew, because that is legitimately all it takes for me to go full time. But regardless, I truly do appreciate it if you're still watching. I'll catch you on the next one. Woods out.